22 of the 30 most polluted cities in the world are in India. Make your story simple enough for the people who can come and do the journey together with you. In 2020, most part of the technology coming from China and it was assembled in India. Surprisingly enough, there was no automotive standards which was there for the hybrid conversions. Our solution not only helped to reduce the carbon saving of the consumer, but also helps solve the vehicle scrapping policy.
We have with us the founder and CEO of Green Tiger Mobility, which is the world's first approved iHybrid solution for two-wheelers. Is also strengthening its presence across EV OEMs as reliable component suppliers. Ashish, over his career of 20 years, has been CEO of Transtel Utilities, UK, VP of DBS Bank, and Associate Director of Standard Chartered Bank. Can you give him a big round of applause, people of the audience? Thank you very much. Over to you, Ashish.
Hi. A very good morning to all of you, and thanks Mr. Reddy for setting the context of the founder's story. It was very inspiring to hear your journey and your story. I had started to believe that a founder's story is same as that of the company's story, because over the years, when the founders go through the company, they live, they breathe, they dedicate everything to the company, the difference seems to be blurred. The company's story becomes the founder's story, or the founder becomes the company's story. However, while I was preparing for this talk today, I came to realize that the company is an outcome of the hard work, the passion, the grit, which the founding team puts together. However, their story is different. Thanks, Micelio, for having or giving me this opportunity for sharing my journey with all of you here. Hi, I'm Ashish Dokania. I'm founder of Green Tiger Mobility. I'm here on a mission to enhance EV adoption through retrofitting of existing petrol two-wheelers with our iHybrid or electric solutions. We are also on a mission to actually provide a lot of EV components, especially in the domain of power electronics, which are 100% made in India and which are completely reliable and resilient for the country's requirement, and thereby enhancing EV ecosystem. Just to share a bit about myself, I come from a small town from Bihar, and over my entire life, I have lived across 6 states in India, and I have worked across multiple countries in the world. I'm a CA and MBA by qualification, and I have worked across banks and corporate setup over my career of last 15 years. Yes, today I'm in the business of mobility, which is very divergent to what I have studied and what I have worked before. In 2017, I started a company called Transtel because I realized that there is significant amount of changes or significant amount of pressure which is coming on distribution grids, because distribution grids worldwide are becoming more and more unstable on account of 2 issues. Issue number 1, there is an enhanced demand from electric vehicles which are essentially putting pressure on the grid, and at the same time, there is intermittency in the power which is coming on account of renewable sources, which is additionally putting pressure on the grids. These 2 factors are essentially making grid little more unstable, more so in developed market than in developing market, where EV adoption is yet at a very nascent stage. So we started this company called Transtel in UK, largely focusing on grid stability by virtue of where we were doing power generation through microgrids, hybrid power plant, and also supplying power in the demand response market. The tipping point for me came when I had put up a power plant in a city called Manchester, and I had to wait for 12 plus months to get an EV charging station. When I started inquiring why there is so much of delay, I came to realize that Manchester as a city still works on a 6.6 kV distribution system, wherein most of the cities in the world work on a 11 kV distribution system network. And I was quite flabbergasted why they are working on 6.6 kV connection. And upon diverging into it, I realized that Manchester was one of the first cities in the world to set up a distribution system, and that system was set up at 6.6 kVs. And over 150 years it has taken, but yet they have not been able to migrate from 6.6 kV to 11 kV. That led me to think that for a country such as India, where the population density is so skewed towards our city, so much towards the distribution system, how will India cope up to the EV adoption, especially from a perspective that most of our people and most of our vehicles reside in the cities today? That was one of the big idea or big problem that I could come across to. As I stated, I come from a small town, and essentially I grew up seeing that the major portion of mobility, or the most reliable portion of mobility in these cities or these tier 2 places, come from two-wheelers. This is the basic mode of mobility. But India today, I was actually surprised to see that as per the World Air Quality Report, 22 of the 30 most polluted cities in the world are in India. And surprisingly, the only metro being Delhi, which means 21 out of 30 most polluted cities are tier 2 and tier 3 cities in the country. And mobility contributes to roughly around 20% of the pollution. And two-wheelers per se contribute to more than 60% of the total pollution coming out of the mobility sector. So in a sense, we can state that more than 12% of the country's total pollution come from two-wheelers, and this number is more skewed in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where there is more prevalence of two-wheelers in this market. While electric vehicle seems to be a very reliable or honest answer to this, however, we have two other problems. One, the EV adoption in the country is still a little at a tepid pace, maybe because of various reasons, whether the reasons come from range anxiety, charging infrastructure in tier 2, tier 3 cities, reliable electric power, service network, whatever that could be. But there is another problem. The problem is that all the electric vehicles are catering to is the new demand of mobility. But what about 300 million oblique 30 crore two-wheelers which are already plying on the Indian roads? This led us to think why we can't have a solution which is like what we see in our homes today, where electricity is the main supply of power. And in case that supply is not there, we always rely on the diesel generator, or we rely on the UPS to meet the requirement of the energy what we have in the houses. Why we cannot have a similar electric vehicle which has a reliable petrol engine as a backup, thereby ensuring that the rider doesn't have any kind of anxieties which I had explained earlier, which is there with electric vehicles. And that gave us the idea. This gave us the idea of making Green Tiger and getting an independent hybrid, which not only gives a solution to existing two-wheelers towards transiting towards electric vehicles, but also gives a solution which is reliable, affordable, convenient, and pollution-free. And this solution also could, because we have a petrol engine as a backup, we can always have a smaller portable battery, by virtue of which there is lesser load on the distribution system, because you don't need a dedicated charging station, but you can charge it at the convenience of your home in the normal 5 ampere sockets where you charge your laptops or mobile phones. This is a sample of our product. This is running on petrol engine right now, as you can see it from the sound or hear from the sound. Just on the switch of a button, it's electric vehicle now. Coming to my personal journey, and I think not particularly my journey, that's a journey of any founder. While the overarching picture, the overarching idea seems very convincing, very inspiration, but it is equally important that you break it down into the small pieces. Just imagine it like a 5,000 piece Eiffel Tower puzzle. While the puzzle, when it's constructed together, it's very beautiful, very inspiring. But when you look at those 5,000 tiny pieces, it's as confusing as it can be. Whenever I personally work with my kids and try to do this kind of puzzle, the basic thing which we do is I try to assemble all similar looking or similar colored pieces together so that I can address one area at a time. Very similar to that, in our journey, we actually classified all our problems in 5 areas. The first area being the regulations. Mobility is a very regulated industry. And surprisingly enough, there was no automotive standards which was there for the hybrid conversions. And that became a major challenge for us. But we did not lose hope. We approached all the regulatory agencies. Notably, we approached ARAI, we approached Ministry of Roadways and Transportation Highways. And I have come to believe that today in our country, all these agencies are so pro-startups that if your idea is convincing enough and your asks are clear enough, then all the agencies will go out of the way to help you. And we have experienced that firsthand. ARAI not only helped us to modify the automotive standard to pave way for hybrids, but they also helped us in various other things like RC updation process, Vahan portal, all of that. The second challenge which we faced or which we had encountered with was technology. Because in 2020, most part of the technology was actually coming from China and it was assembled in India. However, we did not have a ready-made solution or options available from China. So we had only 2 options, either invent, innovate, or drop the project altogether. We chose the former. When we started innovating, and which seemed like the major problem for us at that point of time, that has become our biggest strength today. Because we hold not only 6 product patents approved for our technology, but we have also started supplying these EV components to various EV OEMs and the ecosystem. And very happy to share, we have supplied more than 8,000 such units into the market today. The third problem is additives. What is additives? Additives, the way I say it is those normal, those third-party reliance which you have, which you cannot do much about, but they are very necessary for your business. For our business, these are companies or solutions such as insurance, banking partners, service providers, etc., etc. We had to address one each at a time. We had to ensure that we spend enough time to convince each of these additive players and make a solution or stitch a solution around it. The next problem which we had was time to market. We were faced with 2 challenge, or we were 2 school of thought. One was, convert 50 vehicles, run each vehicle for 1,00,000 kilometers to ensure that, you have a complete reliable product. That was one school of thought. The second school of thought was, okay, give it to the customer because the customer is the best feedback giver. And based on the feedback that you get, you can improve upon your product. Both these solutions were promising enough, but they had their own problems. So what we did is we sold 50 vehicles to the consumer with 1 year free pickup drop, free service issues, anything that they encounter. Because no matter how much you do internal testing, your customer is the best critique that you can have. And by doing that, over a period of 8 months since we gave the first vehicle, we have been able to make our product much more resilient, reliable, where we as a company are far more confident to give it to the market. The last, we had the mindset, this is work in progress, because essentially when we talk about retrofit, it's always about whether it's a true innovation or it's a frugal innovation. We truly believe it's a true innovation. And as we scale, we are sure the world will see it in that particular format as well. The next challenge which any founder has, and we had the similar, that when I was in college as an economics student, I read output is nothing but a product of labor into capital, which brings to the most pertinent problem in any founder's journey, including mine. How do you build a team and how do you raise capital to fund the innovation that what you are thinking about? Especially for me per se, building team was far more difficult because I was not coming from the mobility sector. On top of that, over 15 years of corporate training, working, had kind of imbibed that belief that whether, qualification is important or culture is important. So here I believed in very basic thing, two things which I believed in was number one, make your story simple enough and convincing enough for the people who can come and do the journey together with you rather than helping you from outside. I was lucky enough. And sorry, second point was find key anchors which will be there in your team who can take the beating together. I was lucky enough to have Aditya join us as a CTO for the company, who together with me have built the company from a 2-member team to a 52-member team today, wherein ensuring that the culture is good enough, resulting in less than 8% attrition. So, the next thing is that capital. When you start a capex heavy business, there is always a challenge whether, the questions which you keep hearing is hardware business is not fundable. What about scale? You will keep raising money. Where is the co-founder? Where is the POC? Not knowing that POC can be done when there is a capital. So these are the common challenges which I'm sure every founder goes through their journey, and we went through the same. We were lucky because of the years that we had spent, in the international market, that the various angels came together and helped us raise our first round. Subsequent to that, we also were lucky enough to get a lot of government grants, whether it is from the ministries, whether it's from education institutions like BITS Pilani, Bangalore, or ministries like Ministry of Heavy Industries, ARAI, amongst others, which not only helped us in the funding, but also in the mentorship. Now, doing that, there was always a thought that we also need to pivot to ensure that we have enough revenues which we can generate and take the business forward. And that led us to the next thing, which is the fashionable stuff which is there today. We started the products that we had built in, as I had explained in technology, we started marketing our own BMS, our own vehicle control units, our own displays. And today we have sold more than 8,000 units, wherein they have given us enough liquidity to survive and to carry on our work. After this, we raised our second round, which helped us to scale our product together. Finally, the today two businesses which Green Tiger has is one retrofit business where we have already done more than 150 vehicles in the city of Bangalore and constantly doing 50 per month and increasing. The second is the component business where we have done more than 8,000 units and we continue to do more than 200 to 250 units a month. I know my time is up, but I'll try to continue and finish it off. The point is, what is the big picture? Why we are doing this? What is the driver? The big picture that we have, number one, is can we help save carbon? And carbon saving is not only from a pollution, but it's also a reduction in the material usage per capita. That is what our bigger goal is, the bigger picture is, which is where our solution not only helps to reduce the carbon saving of the consumer, but also helps solve the vehicle scrapping policy of the country. Third point, which we have very close to our heart, is how do we enhance the overarching value to the consumer? Overarching value to the consumer can be enhanced once you give more life to the existing vehicle, thereby they get more for the buck that they have spent already on the vehicle. Fourth point is essentially about how do we skill, because of the retrofitted vehicle, which has dual powertrain, it makes it very simpler for the roadside mechanics to get themselves skilled on petrol vehicle, which they are familiar with, and at the same time towards the electric vehicle, by virtue of which the skilling will help them to have a continued employment rather than a massive disruption in their employment as EV ecosystem kicks in. And lastly, with our product business, our massive goal is to build a reliable, resilient, completely indigenized, made in India product, which basically will cater to the EV ecosystem. This is one such vehicle which we have converted. And if I request, to guess the age of this vehicle in your mind here. So this vehicle, what you see, is a 21-year-old vehicle. Lastly, I would just say from my journey that when we, as a founder, when we build, any product, then many times we get to hear that founder journey is solo, it's difficult, it's challenging. But what I have come to believe that the founder journey is not solo as long as you do not focus on the end objective, but focus on the journey itself. So the simple mantra as a founder I have is work hard and party harder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Audience, a bigger round of applause for him on stage. Doing phenomenal work, as you can see. Requesting Mr. Bijoy George from Founder's Office to please come up onto the stage and do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude to the second founder's story on stage, Ashish Dokania, the founder of Green Tiger.